Good afternoon. So feel like I haven't been here for a long time. Like I haven't been on Instagram or speaking. I've been super busy, and that's a blessing. I'm definitely grateful, but I've kind of missed interacting on these platforms. So there's so much to unpack. So much stuff has been going on, and I've been making a lot of adjustments and changes and taking things in new directions. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the two main services that I offer that I do the most, it seems, and that is the astrocartography and birth chart rectification. So as far as astrocartography, I have a couple of options that I'm doing now, and the first one primarily is the astrocartography with the G Center kind of incorporated. And the more that I go on doing this, the more I realize that everything I do is pretty much going to be Astro HD, Astro Quantum HD, because I really resonate with Karen Curry Parker's teachings and with the quantum energy that comes with the whole dynamic. It just feels good. It feels empowering, and I love it. So I love being a part of that community, and I'm grateful for everything that has come from me being a part of it. So amazing changes that have happened this year, I'm excited about. And so back to the topic, astrocartography with the focus on the G Center. And really what it ends up being is information that I do provide everyone on their G Center, what's defined there, if it's open or a defined center, or if the gate, and the gates that are defined there. So we kind of like put information in on both of those, and you get a recording, and then I send over a PDF of all the slides and everything that we go over. So everyone has their own unique one that we get. But the other service that I'm offering right now is the astrocartography with the natal and the design dates. And this has been one that has been so exciting to me, because I was just one day sitting in my office like, wait, what about the other side? Like, what about the other part of us, and how is it going to be impacted by location? So I started pulling them apart to put it back together, really, and looking at how the locations are affecting the design side, and how they are impacting the personality side, the natal side. And I've been really having some interesting things that I've been finding with that, and it's a really exciting reading. So yeah, that's like one of my favorites. Now, some of the things that I want to talk about in regards to astrocartography, and I think it's so important. First and foremost, we're not going to change the natal promise. We're not going to change what the aspect dynamics between the planets, like how the planets were communicating in your chart. We're not changing that. It's how, like, it's what your spirit needed in this lifetime for its evolution. And so what we are going to do is change areas that are being impacted by those planets, and potentially moving them into placements that are going to be more beneficial and cause less challenge. But that does not mean that there are not going to be things that come up in life and challenges that come up in life. So a great example of this, and I use myself because I've experimented on myself. So I used relocation to move to the current location that I live in now. And when I was doing that, I knew that it was going to be important for me. I wanted to focus on career, because the work that I had been doing had become something that for years I felt like I can't do this anymore. I'm not feeling called to this work. It doesn't satisfy my soul. And so I need something more. And when I looked through the United States, it was like, my midheaven, like as far as my midheaven, the main thing that was going to be able to get to that point in the US was my Uranus, because in my natal chart, Uranus is relatively close to my midheaven. Now I had moved to the West Coast, and that pulled me away and pulled my planets away from the midheaven. Also, not only are we impacted by the planets that are right on these angles, but also by planets that are making interactions or communicating with the angle. So it could be by like an aspect, like a trine aspect, or even square aspects, conjunction, or oppositions. So those all can have impacts on the angles of our chart when we're doing a relocation reading. But I knew that my Uranus was going to be probably the one. It was pretty well aspected in my chart. And so I'm like, yeah, let's go for the Uranus line. Let's move to the Uranus line. So that's what I did. And living out here, I have noticed definitely an increase in career potential. But with all of that being said, we have to take into consideration what planet we are placing here, because that planet's energy is going to influence the type of work that I would be more successful in this location. So moving to a Uranus line, automatically it's like, okay, science or technology, innovation, innovative thinking, astrology, the Aquarian type, like anything that you can think of that's Aquarian in nature. Those type of careers are going to be more successful. Now, if I moved out here and I was wanting to stick with my old career, nursing, which is kind of more like a traditional type work, maybe more like Virgo energy, it probably wouldn't work so well because I'm moving to a Uranus line. And so it needs to be said that when we go through the scoring, when people do a session with me, they get the scores, they see their scores, and you might have 1,000 in career, you might have, super high scores in certain areas. And when we look and see what planet is creating that dynamic to the midheaven angle, so which planet is giving us this high score for career, it's going to start determining the type of work that would be likely to be beneficial in this area. For me, on this Uranus line, it's Uranian type work. So I'm working with technology every day. I'm conducting all of my sessions over the internet, which makes sense. And not only that, they are astrological and quantum human design. So we're dealing with Aquarian and Uranian type themes. We're not changing the nature of these planets. We are not going to do that. So walking into this scenario, I knew, yes, my career score is definitely gone up. It's going to be strong in Uranian related fields. But it's Uranus, and Uranus is got the nature of unexpectedness. Even when it is positively aspected, Uranus is still one of those planets that is going to create unexpected events in our lives. So when it's positively aspected, usually these events have a beneficial outcome. But that does not mean they still are not shocking. They still kind of shake you out of the comfort zone a little bit, and the end result leading to something, yes, that feels good at the end. But that initial shakeup can be still uncomfortable, and it was for me. I'm grateful for this shakeup. I'm grateful that things have increased, but I have to go with the flow. If I tried to be too limited or restricted in my Capricorn ways, my Capricorn ascendant ways, then I might start having challenges because Uranus is free-flowing, liberating, and, you never know what to expect. So that's important when we're looking at relocation, like what planet are we moving to these angles and how is that planet aspected in the chart? Another thing that's important to know is that when we're doing that and when we're seeing these scores are only talking about conversations that are happening between the planet and the angle. So when I'm shifting the charts and you see this score, this 1,000 in career, that's the thing we're looking at. We're looking at the planets making an aspect to the angle. For a career, it will be midheaven. But it doesn't talk about conversations that are going on between the planets themselves. So that's those inner aspects that we're not changing. We're changing the house placements that are being affected. So we're changing the area of life that's being impacted by these, but we're not changing that energy of the conversation between those two planets. So if you have a square between Jupiter and Saturn, that square is going to be there no matter what house I put it in. So it doesn't mean that things are going to just be perfect all the time, or, it's going to be 100% smooth sailing. We're still going to have things that come up no matter where we go. That is part of living in this 3D reality. So, I think it's important for me to just say that because that way you know what to expect. I'm not promising anyone a perfect existence, a perfect life. It would be beautiful if I could do that, but I can't. I do not. that's not the power that I hold. But what I can do is try to help people find places and positions that will be more beneficial for what they're looking for in their life. So when we're doing that, when I'm breaking it down and doing that with the natal and the design side, I'm looking at both of those dynamics for both parts, because the design side, the design crystal, this is a rabbit hole I could go down. Seriously, I love it. Has been worn by others. You know, it carries its own kind of energy and karma, whereas the personality, that's unique to us only. But I don't know, can the design side be worn in this like different timelines in the same existence? Possibly. This is all an experiment, and I'm open to like suggestion on that, because the more that I do these, the more interesting it gets. And then like, even with when we're breaking the design and the personality side apart, like if somebody is a generator and then on their body side, they're completely like a reflector, how does that impact them? And how does that impact them in location? Because at the end of the day, I'm pulling these two apart, but in reality, it takes both sides to create us, like our unique expression in this lifetime. So how is that playing out in your reality? Are you having extreme sensitivity to things? Is being around the wrong environment or wrong people affecting you? And you can't really pinpoint why until we pull that apart and see, oh, well, this is reflected like on this side, and maybe that's what you're experiencing physically. So that's something I could talk about. Like, it's one of those rabbit holes I can go down for days, and it's hard to come back out of, but it's fascinating, and I'm excited about this work and where it might go. I think that I learn new things every day about this, and I learn from my clients all the time. I'm so grateful for all of you, and so thankful that you come to me and want to work with me. It just means so much. But that's really with the astrocartography. Like, I want to make sure that people have an understanding that we're not changing your chart. We're not going to change the aspects and the interactions between the planets. We're going to change how they impact you in this reality, because I'm shifting everything around. I'm moving the chart. We're going to be like, I want people to know that those scores that they see are based on the angles and the aspects that are being made by planets to angles, or angles to angles themselves, but not that's not changing the conversation between the planets themselves. Another thing that's interesting, like if you are having health problems, we're not going to see a score. When you see your scores, you're not going to get a score that's going to really talk to you about what's going on in this location in regards to health. That takes looking at the chart, because that means there's probably something going on in the 6th house, maybe even the 8th or the 12th house, potentially the 4th, or with the moon. So there's a lot of things that need to be considered when we're looking at that. It's way more than just seeing those scores. And I think that that's important as well to keep in consideration. But don't get me wrong, the scores when it comes to the angles and the dynamics are quite accurate from my experience thus far. And so I do still like to use those, just with the awareness that, like, this understanding and this knowing that there's more to it than just that. There's more to it than just meets the eye when it comes to that. So that's like astrocartography. Now with the birth chart rectification, this is something that has been really a blessing to be able to do for people. I really do enjoy it. I've actually made some updates and changes to the intake forms that I have, so that I'm getting a little bit more information and not having to email you constantly. You probably get on your nerves from all the emails that you get from me, but I thank you guys for bearing with me on that. I try to stay abreast of everything that's going on and keep you informed as well. But with the birth chart rectification, I have updated that intake form. So there's going to be more questions, because the more information that I can ascertain, like get from you, the better. The quicker the process can go, and I can kind of pinpoint in on the timing faster. Really, that's what it comes down to. So things like, describe your personality to me. Just by knowing that, like, what type of person are you? That's going to give me a lot of information. How would people describe you? Like, people that you know, what would they say about you? What is one of those things that when your name comes up, people are like, oh yeah, that's her. And then, like, what was your home life like? How were things when you were growing up? this is going to help me to pin things down as well. So if you are going to be booking a birth chart rectification with me, just know there's going to be, there's more questions there now so that we can get more into detail. And when it comes to events that have happened in your lives. So if you've had traumatic experiences, and your trauma can be whatever was considered trauma to you, successes like graduations, promotions at work, things like anything that felt like made you feel good, made you feel happy, where you were recognized. Those events are big too. Marriage, divorce, birth of children, death of loved ones, death of parents especially, is important. If that has been the case for you, those kind of events are going to kind of like trigger a response in my system when I run that through, and also when I'm going through and looking at and comparing the potential birth times to the transits and the progressions that were going on at that time. So I know that was a lot in a short amount of time, but I just wanted to come on because I haven't been here in a while and I miss you guys, and I'm so grateful for everybody that has messaged me or been in contact or booked a reading with me, and I hope to talk with more of you soon if you need me. And you can find my services in the link in my bio, and also my website, www.astroenergetics.org, and I'm on Facebook at Astroenergetic Healing too. So I hope that you guys had a great holiday season if you celebrate, and I want to say thank you again. Lots of love. Blessings.